Okay, so today, welcome back to my channel. I don't look as rough as I usually would, just because it's kind of chill hour and I took a shower and I brushed my hair, blah blah blah. But so for this video, I'm gonna do a just an overall experience of like being pregnant and, you know, labor and delivery, my feelings about it, and hopefully I can shed some light on somebody who's going through the same things, or somebody who's like, yeah, that's relatable, but you know, whatever. Whatever floats your boat. Excuse me, because I'm eating these little cracker thingies. They're so good. Got stuck in my teeth. So let me tell you how I found out I got pregnant. It was so dumb. So I was living in Arizona and I went to go visit my mom and my sisters and everybody in California. So I went over there, and you know how usually like they say like, oh, the girls you go with are the girls you flow with, some saying like that, something like that. But I I usually get my period the same time my mom and my sister do. So my mom didn't care. She was like, oh, you know, she's taking care of herself, which I was, but we were trying to get pregnant. I didn't think I would get pregnant that fast, you know, like sorry if the TV's too loud. Nirvana's watching the Vegetable City or whatever. She's over there. So I ended up going to visit, and I'm like talking to my sister Bianca and Jessica, and they're like, oh, you know, how's everything been, you know, small talk. And I was like, oh yeah, it's really good. I didn't tell them like, hey, I'm planning on like getting pregnant, whatever, trying to get pregnant. I didn't say that because I didn't want them to be like, you are dumb, you are so dumb right now. And you know, everybody told me that. Everybody told me that. And I was like, you know what? I can handle it. I got it from here. It's okay. But, so I ended up going, and my sister was like, oh, we're going to go out with our brother and our sister. We're going to go to the movies, have a sibling day. We're going to go out. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I got all cute. And, and she was like skeptical, like she kept asking me like, oh, are you okay, like you look different, and I was like, no, I'm fine, like stop. And she was like, sorry. She was like, oh yeah, we're gonna meet Carlos and Jessica at the movie theaters. And I was like, okay, like let me just get ready. So I got ready, and then I'm on my phone. Obviously, when you're in the passenger seat, like you're usually on your phone, you know, like I don't know if that's just me, but that's me because I get really car sick. So I just try and look at something on my phone. So I was on my phone, and then like the drive was too short to go to the movie theaters because we were supposed to go to Ontario movie theaters, and the drive was like 10 minutes. And I look up and we're at the emergency room, and I was like, oh, are you not feeling good? Like what's going on? She's like, nah, I'm not feeling good. Like, I just want to stop here really quick. And I was like, okay, yeah, go ahead. Like, I got you. Like, if you don't feel good, I'll drive, whatever. So we get inside, and she fills out like the little paper that's right there, like for the emergency room. And I'm like, all right, cool. Like, she got it. She's handling her business. And they call my name up, and I'm like, my name? Like, why'd you put? And I'm like, whatever. So I go in. And I'm like, Bianca, come here. And the lady's like, okay, sweetheart, so what's going on? And Bianca put like, I had like fatigue, and that I was feeling nauseous in the car. And I was like, because I don't know if it happens to everybody, but I always get nauseous in the car. Like no matter what, I can't do long car drives unless I'm the one who's driving. I can't sit in the car for a really long time. It's just something that's with me. I don't know why, but and the lady's like, okay, I'm gonna take your blood pressure and I'm gonna ask you to pee in a cup. And I was like, I was like, no, you're like mistaken. Like, this is for my sister. This is my sister's visit. And let me check the baby real quick. Hold on. What, baby? What, baby? You okay? You want a bubba, mama? Bubba. Okay, so anyway, like I was saying, I just had to feed the baby, sorry. Like I was saying, where did I leave off? Oh, so we were like going to the we went to the emergency room and the lady was like, I need you to pee in this cup, blah blah blah. And I look at Bianca and I'm like, why is she making me do it? Like, you're the one who said you were sick. Why am I here? And she's like, I know you haven't got your period. Like that, just like that. And I was like, what are you talking about? And she's like, I know you didn't get your period. Give me a sec. I'm gonna bring the baby over here. Whoa, baby. What happened? You're being sensitive? You're being sensitive, mama. Huh? You're being sensitive. Hey, come on. Let's go sit with mama. Hey, sit with mama. B. Okay, now I have to edit the video because you guys got a camera full of boob. But anyway, so she ends up like telling me like, oh, you know, you haven't got your period. And I was like, okay, it's just like a week late. And she's like, a week? And I was like, yeah. And keep in mind, I didn't know how to like track my period or anything because it was irregular and I would only get my period for like 2-3 days. So, and I never had like a heavy flow or anything. Let me just sit with her because she's close to me, but she needs constant attention. Of course she does, she's a baby, but you know. So she ends up like pretty much like, we're not going to the movies. I don't know why you thought we were going to the movies. Like, you should have known. And I was like, okay, I'm like, no, like, I'm fine. I don't need to take a test, blah, blah. So then, long story short, I end up going in and I end up taking the test. I pee in the cup and I give it to them. And the doctor comes into the room and he's like, you're not pregnant. And I was like, you see, I told you. Sorry. I was like, you see, I told you. Sorry, I put face cream on my face and my face is oily. But I was like, pretty much, I was like, see, I told you, blah, 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 blah. And then she's like, can you just check, like, something's wrong with her, I know something's wrong with her. And the doctor was like, yeah, we could do like an x-ray, do you want to do an x-ray? And I was like, because I was feeling sick, but I wasn't like, oh my gosh, I'm dying, like, somebody help me. I was just not, I was feeling under the weather. So I was like, all right, let's take the x-ray. And my sister was like, no. She was like, you need to go back and you need to retest her, because I know for a fact that she has to be pregnant. And I was like, stop putting that on me. Like, I know I want a baby. It was a secret, but I was like, I'm scared. So then she ends up telling the doctor, like, go back, relook at the test or retake her test, like, let her know what's up. So then he goes back and he's gone for like 10-15 minutes. And he's like, are you done? He's like, all right. And he pats me on the back. And the way he patted me on the back, I was like, oh gosh. Pats me on the back and he's like, yeah, you are pregnant. And I was like, how did that happen? How did that happen, Nirvana? I don't know. You tell me. Here. Toy. Orange, turquoise, green, yellow. Orange, turquoise, green, yellow. You gotta lower your hand, Mama. Okay, here you go. She's being a little bit of a spoiled. You're going to poop. Yes, you are, ma'am. Yes, you are. I know you. I know you. I know that little face when it's going poo poo. So anyway, she ends up taking my test, blah blah blah, and then they're like, we could set up an appointment here, but keep in mind I was just visiting, like I had to come back home to Arizona. So I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I gotta go home and tell Miguel that we're pregnant. And it's like quick, it happened so quick. I didn't think it was gonna happen. I was only off my birth control for like 2 months, I want to say. And I was like, yeah, you know, like it's fine, blah blah. But I came home and then I told my mom, like, hey girl, you gonna be a grandma, you are gonna be a grandma. And then I'm so sorry if my dad or my stepmom's watching this, but I did not tell them. For the life of me, I couldn't do it. I was like, oh my god, kill me, I don't know what to do. My mom was like very supportive from the beginning. Obviously, like, she knew it, she was a teen mom too, you know. And my stepmom was super supportive too, but I didn't tell my dad or my stepmom because I was so scared. I was like, oh my gosh, they're gonna be like, you are just, I felt like they were gonna like be super disappointed in me or like tell me stuff that I didn't want to hear, which they didn't really, like they didn't. But I ended up coming home. And I came home and Miguel was getting off of work when I pulled up from the airport. And I came home, my friend picked me up and dropped me off at home. And she was like, oh my gosh, like I knew you were pregnant, I knew it. And I was like, yeah, and now I gotta tell Miguel. So then I ended up coming home and Miguel came home around the same time, and he was like, hi, I missed you, blah blah blah, you know, just the same couple thing. So excuse me. And so then he ends up looking at me and I'm like, what? And he's like, I got you something. And I was like, what? And keep in mind, it was already like February 14th, 2019. February 14th, 2019. So then I came home. I was in California for like a week. I came home and here. This one. I came home to Arizona and oh my gosh, my eye was so itchy. I came home and he ends up coming in the house with like flowers, a little bear, chocolates and like all this stuff. And that was the first time that we ever did anything for Valentine's Day, like super cute. Usually we would just go out to eat and like get tacos or something, but he was like, so, and I was like, what? And he's like, how was it? And I was like, oh my gosh, it was so fun, you know, like I was so scared to tell him. But once I saw him come into the room with like the little gifts, I was like, and hormones kicked in and I just started leaking from my face. I was like, crying my little butt off. And he was like, you're pregnant? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, oh, I'm so happy. We tried and we did it. And I was like, yeah, you're so right. And then we had this little booger right here. Little booger. Little booger. She wants to put her toys in her mouth and not her pacifier. So I'm like, girl. And then, you know, like, here, nerd, you could be in the combo since you're crying. So then we ended up like trying to keep it on the down low, but then we went to our friend's house and then Miguel was like, oh my gosh, Nat's pregnant. And I was like, senor, why did you say that was supposed to be a secret? And then we came home and then his sister's like, you're pregnant? And I was like, bro, you can't keep a secret. Like, your dad cannot keep a secret. So I was like, yeah, I'm pregnant. And then long story short, we ended up moving to California because insurance. Here's my next story. Because insurance. So since we ended up moving to California, I'm obviously under my dad's insurance. Thank you, Dad. But I ended up moving back to California with Miguel, and we ended up moving in with my mom and my sisters. And I started setting up my appointments and going to my doctor's visits over there. Sorry, my face is out of shot. I'm watching TV too. I'm going to my doctor visits over there. So I guess I didn't like switch. No, I switched the address so that my doctor mail could come to my mom's address and not my dad's. But I didn't know, yes, I'm a little slow, but I didn't know that the person who owns the insurance or whatever, he gets the bill monthly. I didn't know that. I thought it was like an app and you just, you like give it an okay or whatever. I didn't know, okay? I still don't really know. But long story short, he ends up calling me the day that I'm getting ready to like, okay, I need to go to my dad's, like, we need to go and talk to him and tell him what's up. Me, Miguel, and then my sister was like, well, I'm gonna go visit dad. So she's like, okay, let's go, we're going. And I'm getting ready and I'm finishing my pancakes because that was my thing when I was pregnant. I loved pancakes. And excuse me. There you go, baby. Hi. Hello. Hi. So anyway, sorry, the video is gonna just be like this from now on because she needs to hold my hand. So then I'm getting ready to like finish eating my pancakes, and I put like syrup from the fridge, and then Miguel has my phone and he's like, your stepmom texted you. And I was like, what'd she say? And it was my dad texting me through my stepmom's phone. And he's like, you don't need to come over. I know everything, pretty much in the sense of that. And I was like, yeah, exactly, Nerve. Exactly. Tell Grandpa. Say you love me anyway, Grandpa Carlos. And she was like, my dad was like, you don't need to tell us. And then he ends up calling. And as soon as my husband tells me, like, your stepmom texted, after I said, what did she say? I couldn't even, like, listen to what he said because I was so sick. Like, instantly I went to the bathroom to go throw up because I was like, I'm gonna get in trouble. I was 18 years old and I'm still scared of my dad. I'm 19 now. I'm still scared of my dad, obviously. But I'm scared of all my parents. Scary. So I'm like, we're gonna go over there. I need to talk to you in person. And he's like, okay. And we ended up going, I think at this point I was like 4 months, and the doctor had told me like there's possibility, you know, that you won't carry to term if you're not eating correctly. And I was like, oh, like what does that even mean? And he was pretty much telling me like, oh, your baby's not weighing like the average that baby would weigh, I guess, when he took the ultrasound. And I was like, I don't know how that works. I don't know how you could tell that, but he was pretty much saying that Nirvana was too small. So when I went to my dad's, I was already in the thought like there's a possibility I can't carry her to term, you know? So, and I know it's bad to think like that. I know, but I ended up seeing my dad and my stepmom, and they were pretty much like, what's that? You pregnant? And I was like, how'd you find out? And they were like, we get the bill, Nat. Like, how did you not know? We get the bill. Of course, we know that you're pregnant. We know how many months you are. We know when you're due. And I was like, well, congratulations, grandparents. Woohoo! Woohoo! Grandma! She doesn't care. But that's what happened. And I went, and let me tell you, I was sweating. I was like, what are they gonna tell me? What are they gonna tell Miguel? I was so scared, like, And we ended up going, and they were really supportive. All of my parents were super supportive. My mom and my stepmom, obviously, a lot. My dad was like, how's the baby? How are you? And I was like, I'm fine. Sometimes he texts me still, and he's like, how's the baby? And I'm like, how am I, Dad? What's going on with me? And he's like, you, madam, you don't count anymore. It's all about nerves. And, you know, like, that's pretty much what happened. Everybody was super supportive. The main thing was that I was scared, obviously, to tell my dad because he's my dad. I was scared to tell my mom because I knew she was going to be like, Nat, come on. Why did you do that? But you know what? I did it out of love because I love my little baby. Hi, Novi. Hi, Novi. Say hi. Sometimes I think she thinks like, Mom, get out of my face. Oh my gosh, you're so annoying. But anyway, she seems to be chilling, so I'm gonna go back to my little spot. Pretty much, I just was so scared. And honestly, if you're in a situation, it's better just to get it off your chest and tell everybody like, you know what, this is happening. It's gonna stay happening. There's nothing you could do. Well, there is something you can do. That's your choice. You know, my body, my choice. Anyway, I just felt super overwhelmed, super scared. I thought, like, if they don't accept it, if they don't want to talk to me, then whoever doesn't want this, doesn't want me, doesn't need to deal with anything that involves me or my child. That was pretty much my mindset because I felt like everybody was out to get me. You're going to feel like that. Obviously, you're carrying a little person that you are responsible for now. So I really was like, can't do it. I'm super scared. I don't know what to do. And it came out perfect. Like, she's beautiful. I don't regret it. I don't wish anything else I don't wish anything else would have happened. You know, like, she's amazing. I was so blessed. Like, she's such a good baby. Doesn't cry unless, you know, she's hungry. That's normal. But she's not like a bad sleeper or anything. She fusses here and there, but even when she was first home, she didn't cry. She would just like, meh, 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 meh. That's what she would do. Her little whines. The first time I heard her cry was probably when she came out of me, and the first time she got her shots. Yeah, huh? But so that's what happened. I'm gonna come back down because it is like hard to talk right there because I'm holding the camera the entire time. So okay, and sorry because I really don't like to edit because I don't know how to do it. So pretty much it's all lopsided. Sorry. Pretty much. It's a burp. Pretty much that's what happened. So labor and delivery, this is like the longest video in the world, I know, but labor and delivery was like so perfect, so calm. And I felt scared because Miguel was at work, but you know, it was fine. In the end, it was fine. So for me, I ended up having preeclampsia, so it was really hard for me to walk. Like, I would walk like 3 steps and I would be like dying. Like, I'm not even kidding. I was dying. I couldn't breathe. I was like, you know what? I need to take a 10-15 minute break, maybe a 20-minute break, eat a Slurpee, drink a Slurpee. I just wanted all the snacks in the world. I was like, you know what? Stretch marks, whatever. I don't care. I'm over it. I want the baby out of me. I want her healthy. She's complaining now because I'm not sitting next to her. But I'm going to try and wrap this up because I got to get her ready for bed. Anyway, so I'm trying to make this quick. But, for me, I ended up having a sister day with my sister Bianca, and my other sister was at work, my brother was at work, my husband was at work, my mom and her fiance were going to Ensenada. My sister was supposed to go with them, but she was hanging out with me, Bianca. And so she's like, oh, come with me to the DMV and then we could go to the movies and the mall. And I was like, oh yay, like yay, sister day. So then I was like, okay, they were supposed to leave to Ensenada in the morning, but they didn't end up because my mom had to go to work. So then they made me take this urine kit test before like everything happened, and I had to pee in this little bucket thing for like 2-3 days. All of my urine had to go in that bucket, all of it. I couldn't not pee in the bucket. And that was for my preeclampsia test. So pretty much the doctor was like, I took 3 tests before that, previous tests before that, to check and see if I had any blood in my urine or anything. And I did, and they kept making me retest and retest and retest. So then finally, like, I turned the test in on Wednesday, and then on Friday, the doctor was like, he called me up, and he's like, hey, I'm gonna have your test results for you in about an hour. Just keep your phone on. If not, I'll leave you a voicemail. And I was like, all right, cool. So then we end up going to the DMV, and I feel like I have to pee. And I'm like, I gotta pee or I gotta poo. Something's happening. Like, no TMI, but something's happening. And I was like, okay, let me go to the bathroom. So I went to the bathroom and I wiped, and there was like this glob of mucus, like straight up mocos from the nose. I'm not even kidding. And I was like, let me send a picture to my mom because I don't know what this is. So I sent a picture to my mom, and I was like, am I ovulating? Like, what is this? What's going on? And she's like, your mucus plug. And I was like, what is a mucus plug? I don't know any of this. And she's like, Google it. And I was like, okay. So I Googled it, and then I went out of the bathroom, Googled it, and it was like, oh yeah, mucus plug, blah, blah, blah. I gave the description, and I was like, okay, cool. But it said, oh, labor typically doesn't add up until like 2 to 3 weeks after you lose your mucus plug. So I was like, okay, I'm fine, like, it's okay. So then I end up going to the bathroom again, and this time it's like, I can't even describe the size. It was bigger. That's it. It was bigger. And I was like, okay, this is really freaking me out. Like, I'm scared. So I end up like sending another picture to my mom, and I was like, this just came out. Like, what is this? It was a little bit bloody, so I started to freak out more. I was like, okay, what's gonna happen? What do I do? So my mom's like, just come and meet me at my job. You and your sister come and meet me at my job. So my mom and her fiance were there because my mom's fiance was gonna pick up my mom. And then I'm like panicking, I'm crying in the car already. I'm like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I want to go home. I want to just eat a Snickers bar and go home. Like, you're not you when you're hungry. You know what I'm saying? Bless you, mama. Bless you. God bless you. And I was just like, just somebody take me home. And I was just like, let's go home. Like, it's fine, you know? And my sister was like, no. She was like, we're going to go to the movies and we're going to go to the mall so you could get your steps in. And I was like, sister, I can't walk. Like, it hurts to walk. She was like, Nat, come on, like, you can't just bounce on the ball. And I was like, all right. So then we go to McDonald's because I wanted something sweet. So I was like, let me get a McFlurry. She's like, okay, like, I'll get you a McFlurry. I was so sad because I didn't even get to finish that McFlurry. I left it in the car. I did. left it in the car, and it melted, and she threw it away. So anyway, the doctor ends up calling me, and he's like, Natalia, hi, how are you doing? And I was like, hey, what's up? I just want to let you know my mucus plug came out. He's like, oh, he's like, how would you describe it? I was like, it's very bloody, and it's a lot. It looked like a blood clot, but not a blood clot. I don't know how to explain it to you. And he's like, okay, yeah. He's like, well, I just wanted to call you and let you know that you do have preeclampsia, so we're gonna ask you to go to the hospital just so we can check, because I was already 2 centimeters dilated, but he's like, just walk in, like, you'll induce your own labor. And I was like, okay. He's like, I am gonna have you scheduled to induce today if you're more than 2 centimeters. So I get to the hospital, and they have me pee in a cup, and they're like, oh, do you have any reoccurring conditions or whatever? And I was like, yeah, they just told me I had preeclampsia. And they were like, oh, you do? And I was like, yes. So then they call him up, and they're like, hey, like, what do you want to do with her? And he's like, well, check her to see how far along she's dilated. And they ended up checking me, and I was 2.5 centimeters dilated. So I was like, yay, you know, like 2.5, I'm almost there, gonna have my body back, blah blah blah. It's a lie. It is a lie. You don't get your body back the way that it was before. It's not. Okay? It's not. Anyway, I'm sitting there, and the doctor's checking me. I don't know if, okay, I'm pretty sure half of you watching are like, have never had babies, or you did have babies, so you could like relate. But when they check you, it hurts like hell. I can't, it hurt more than giving birth. I'm gonna be honest with you. That was the only thing that like terrorized me, hurt me so bad, made me not want to have any more kids, was them checking to see how dilated I was. Because once I hit like 8 months, I was done. I didn't want them near me. I didn't want anything near or around my vagina. I was like, no. So I just was like, so the doctor's checking me, and my sister's sitting next to me, and I'm looking at her, and all she sees is like tears go down my face because I was freaking crying. I was like, it hurts. And the lady doctor was like, oh, come on, like, you're okay, you're strong, it's gonna hurt way more when you have the baby, blah blah. And I was like, no, look, I'm like teary-eyed because I'm talking about it. But I was like, no girl, like, I'm getting the epidural, you better relax. And she's like, oh no, you should try and do it natural. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna try and do it natural. So I left the option open to do a natural or get the epidural. I left the little paper sign. So I end up staying, like, they end up keeping me, and they're like, hey, okay, we're gonna send you to your labor and delivery room, because right there I was just getting like my vitals checked, my vagina checked, whatever. They were like, you know, we're gonna give you your dinner because I'm pretty sure you haven't ate. Keep in mind, we got to the hospital around like 1 in the afternoon, and I stayed there up until like 6 p.m. just in that like room getting my vitals checked and all that, because Miguel was at work. He was all the way in Ontario, and I delivered in Redlands, plus traffic, you know. So everybody was getting to the hospital, blah blah blah, and I'm just sitting there like, what's gonna happen? I don't want to be here by myself. Where's my mom? Where's my husband? Everything. Like, my sisters were there, and I was like, somebody please sneak me in a Snickers bar. That's all I wanted. I wanted a Snickers bar and some lobster. That's what I wanted. And I couldn't get either of them because they had to check me. So they end up taking me to my labor and delivery room, and they're like, you could have dinner from the cafeteria. And I was like, okay, what can I eat? And they're like, you could eat meatloaf. And I was like, meatloaf? I don't like meat like that. I was like, please, somebody just give me some lobster. Okay, yes, high maintenance, whatever. So then they end up telling me like, okay, after you eat, you could shower and walk around to try and induce your labor before we give you the, I don't know what drug it's called, but it's to induce your labor. And I walked for like an hour and a half, and I was like moving around and squatting and whatever for like an hour and a half, and nothing. Still 2 centimeters, nothing happened. So then I stay up until 2, and then the nurse comes in and she gives me this drug, and she's like, do not fight this drug. She's like, I'm telling you, you're gonna get a headache, you're gonna throw up if you fight this drug. And I was like, why? she's like, have you ever been drunk before? And I was like, no, like, I don't drink. She's like, yeah, okay, you're 19 years old and you don't drink. And I was like, no, girl, like, I don't drink. I don't like it. Hold on, give me 1 second. And she was like, okay, well, this is what it feels like. It feels like when you're drunk. And I was like, oh no, like, I don't know how that feels, so I don't want to feel it. So she ends up telling me, like, don't fight the drug, like, if you can, go to sleep. And I was like, okay, like, I'll go to sleep. And I ended up going to sleep, but my sisters said that I was like singing. That I was like singing and talking like while I was sleeping, but I don't remember that at all. I was like, I'm out. It was like the best sleep of my life since I got pregnant. Like, it was so good. So they ended up giving me that drug, and I was like out. I was out for like since 2 a.m. to 5 a.m. So I didn't sleep that long, but it felt like forever. You know, it felt like full 8 hours. So then that happened, and they end up waking me up around 6 a.m. The nurse, her name was Jackie. Oh my gosh, God bless her, because she was so perfect. I loved having her in the delivery room with me. She was an amazing nurse. Like, I couldn't have asked for a better nurse. I think about her a lot when I like talk about this story, because she was so perfect. I wish that on everybody, because a lot of people say that their nurses are like super mean or like rude, but she was perfect. She was amazing. So pretty much what happened was she woke me up and she's like, okay, like, are you gonna want the epidural? And I was like, no, I'm fine. At that point I was 4 centimeters, and they left me alone for like a cool minute until I started feeling my contractions. Like at 8 centimeters, I was like, I'm fine, I could breathe through them. I think I could do this naturally. And then there was this lady behind me. I don't know if she had the epidural or she was doing it natural, but what, baby? But she was like screaming, and I could not, for the life of me, I could not think about her screaming. So I was like, somebody needs to play some ASAP Ferg, somebody needs to play something, because I couldn't stand it. I was like, go close the door, I do not want to hear her. And I kept pressing the button for the nurse, but my nurse, I guess, was on lunch break, so I had to wait for her. Nirvana's tired, but I had to wait for her. Let me position this somewhere. I had to wait for her. Okay, baby. Let me see.
Since we're not working on it. What's that on TV?
Here we are at the grand opening of Burgertopia, the greatest burger joint in the world.
Hey, no, baby, I'm sorry. So pretty much, it was like, I literally was, yeah, baby.
It doesn't matter. It's on bad.
I was waiting because she was obviously on her lunch break. I didn't want to rush her, you know. I was like, oh, she's been with me like pretty much all morning. So by this time, it was like 2:30. It was like 2:30, and I was 8 centimeters, and I was 8 centimeters, and maybe it was like around 1, but I'm sorry. Let me see. Okay, girl, you gotta let go, mama. Thank you. Remember? I'm so sorry, I coughed near your head. Pretty much they were like, oh, you know, like, you're gonna have to wait until we find the anesthesiologist. And I was like, okay, well, try and hurry up, because I wasn't in pain until I heard that lady screaming. I was like, okay, no, like, somebody help me. So then they called the anesthesiologist, and I think that's what it's called, I'm not so sure, but she was like, oh, everybody has to get out of the room. So it was pretty much just my sister, my other sister, and my husband. And then they got out of the room, and only my husband came back. Because my sisters were like, she's fine, she got to prepare. Because we wanted it to be very private, So she came back, and my husband sat there and like waited with me. My sisters were in the waiting room. Pretty much, I was just chilling, and I got my epidural, and it hurt. Like, it hurt so bad. My contractions, actually no, my contractions didn't hurt. Around 7 centimeters before I got like my epidural, the doctor came in and he broke my water. That, let me tell you, was the most excruciating pain I've ever experienced in my life. Like, horrible pain. Probably as bad as getting checked to see how far dilated you are. That was probably just as bad. So pretty much, he checked me, he did all of that. He broke my water. After the 8 centimeters, I couldn't do it. I was like, no. I heard the lady screaming. I was like, no. So then my husband ends up coming back in the room, and we're relaxing. And then my nurse, Jackie, comes in, and she's like, hey, can I check you? It's been an hour. Like, it's time for me to check you. And I was like, okay, like, sure. She's like, oh, sweetheart, you're 10 centimeters. And I was like, no, I am not. You are mistaken. And she's like, no, baby, you are. Like, you're 10 centimeters. We have to push. And I was like, I don't want to push. I don't feel like I have to push. I didn't feel like it. So pretty much, I pushed once. She had me, like, lift my legs high. And she's like, you gotta push. And I was like, I can't push. So pretty much since I got the epidural, I didn't feel like I was pushing. I was just holding my breath. I was like, and I didn't feel like I was pushing. I didn't. I was like, and my husband was like, just try and push, do your best, whatever. I was like, I can't do it. I cannot do it. And he's like, push, like, she's telling you to push, so you need to push. And I was like, I don't feel like I'm pushing, so what am I supposed to do? And he's like, just do your best. I was like, okay, so I'm doing it. And then she's like, you're doing perfect, like, you're opening perfect, it's amazing, you're doing awesome. She was so good. Like, props to her. I love her so much. She was amazing. And then she's like, okay, we're gonna let the contractions do the rest. I pushed 3 times, and the rest, I didn't push long, by the way. I pushed 3 times, and the rest Nirvana did by herself. Like, the contractions literally, like, pushed her out. So as soon as the doctor was coming in, Nirvana literally was like, boop, come down by myself. I don't need anybody's help. I was like, oh, my little baby, I love you so much. I love you. I love you. She's not worried about me. But she ended up coming out, and when I tell you that, like, it was the most beautiful experience I've ever experienced in my life. Like, all that waiting, all that pain, all that, everything, it was worth it, because as soon as they laid her on my chest, I know every mom says this, but literally, like, there's nothing like it. There isn't. I couldn't even, I felt so proud, because she literally came out by herself. Like, I pushed 3 times. 3 times. I was so blessed to have an easy delivery. Good job, mama. I was so blessed to have an easy delivery. Like, it was amazing. It was perfect. Like, she came out by herself. Honestly, you could ask my husband. Like, she literally did it by herself. And I felt so proud. I was like, she's gonna be so strong. Like, what baby does that? Honestly. And I told my mom, and my mom's like, oh my gosh, you did that when you were born. Yeah, you didn't wait for the doctor and the nurse. Like, you just started coming out. And I was like, I'm living my life. Living my life. You ready to go to sleep now?
Looks like everything is back to normal.
And pretty much, they check her, they measure her, they do all that, and she comes back, and then my sister and my other sister come in the room, and we start calling everybody and letting everybody know, like, hey, like, now I have the baby, blah, blah, blah. So when I tell you I was like so happy, I literally couldn't like contain it. But at the same time, you're gonna be so exhausted, like you're gonna want to share like all the happiness with everybody, and you're not gonna be able to really, because you love your baby and you care for your baby, but at that point all you want is rest. And I know, like for me, I worried because they took the baby from me. Like they took her and they were like, hey, we gotta take her because you need to relax, like you need to get some rest because your body just went through like something crazy. And I was like, okay. I didn't rest. I was so worried. I don't know why. When I knew it was a great hospital, they had everything under control. You want to sit up? What's wrong? They had everything under control. Like everything was good, pretty much. I mean, and it was just great. Like, look at her. Look at her. She's perfect.
I'll be critiquing your performance. And don't think I'll believe you on you just because
She's
you're
perfect.
my friend. I'm gonna be honest.
Hey, Mama.
Sir, I wouldn't have it any other way, sir.
Okay, I'm gonna end it here though. That's the most relatable that I could be. It's probably went from like here to here to here, but honestly, I was trying to manage my child, so. And she's probably not going to go to sleep until like 2 in the morning. But that is okay because that is what motherhood is about. Learning your baby's schedule, because that's your new schedule, let me tell you. But pretty much overall, it was a great experience. Will I have more children? I don't have an answer for that.
Oh, sorry.
Do I want to have more children?
It just comes out sometimes.
I don't have an answer for that either. But for the time being, this is like the best. Not the time being, that sounds mean, but right now this is all I wanted. This is exactly where I wanted my life to be. I couldn't picture myself not becoming a mother, you know? So I'm very blessed, especially because a lot of women don't have the privilege, don't have the blessing to carry their own child or even conceive their own children. So super blessed. It's amazing, I'm gonna tell you. It's a great experience. Don't be scared. You're gonna be scared. Doesn't matter what I say, but you're gonna be scared, but don't be, because it turns out amazing. Like, babies are awesome. They're literally half of you, half of your love, so it's great. Nope. Anyway, we're gonna end the video here so my child can stop watching television and take a nap. So, we'll see you next time. Bye.